morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to look at a really weird, but really good new item card that is coming in Sword and Shield 4A, that lovely shiny Star V, which means it is likely but not guaranteed to be coming in that special 20th anniversary or 25th anniversary February set. Now, our translation here today is a mixture of the lovely David Hockman and the lovely Antoine Boulet. How cool is that? Two of our favourite people here. And there's been a bit of discussion, but it appears that it's actually called Team Yell's Fan Towel. It's not got an exact easy translation like that. It has actually been released as official merchandise, which is kind of cool. But Antoine has told us that probably the best translation is Team Yell's Fan Towel. So let's go for that and see how we come around. What does it do? Well, it heals 50 damage from your active Pokemon and 50 damage from your opponent's active Pokemon. And this is a weird kind of item card. Now, we're going to get deep into this as we always do in these videos, but just as a little aperitif to start off, healing 50 flat out on one of your Pokemon for an item card, great. Obviously, we know it's going to be great, because if this wasn't great, it wouldn't also heal your opponent. Healing your opponent, clearly not a good thing. Like, that shouldn't need to be said too much here. Healing your opponent is not a good thing. You know what? A lot of the time, it's not going to matter. And I'm sorry if we talk about this Pokemon far too much, but this might be a good time to mention Zacian V. You see, Zacian V comes along with the attack Brave Blade, which naturally does 230 damage. So an awful lot of the time, Zacian V is going to get a key KO. Now, bearing in mind that you're often using Arceus and Alga and Palkia, so you're actually doing 260, you use a GX attack, do an extra 30 damage on all of your attacks, and take an extra prize of every KO. And then let's not forget that we did have a look at Rusted Sword the other day, which will allow you to do an extra 30 damage, just in case the original extra 30 wasn't good enough. And now you're basically doing 290 for a single energy. No, you're not getting V-Maxes, but you are getting pretty much everything else. Pokemon V, single prize Pokemon, GXs, including tag teams, they all go down, ladies and gentlemen. They all go down. So what does it matter if you heal them 50 damage first? Time was, if you were against Arceus and Alga and Palkia, Zacian V was hitting 260 and it wasn't quite doing enough. Maybe in some builds of Zacian you're playing Galarian Zigzagoon. Not a lot of them did, but some of them did. So what you would want to do would be ping for 20 damage, maybe using 2 Galarian Zigzagoon, maybe using 1 in a scoop up net. Then you hit 260, boom, there's your KO. But no, you can't ping for 20 and then play this item card. But you can play this item card and then ping for 20. You see, even in those decks where you need to ping with something like Galarian Zigzagoon, or you need to play Roxy and discard a Weezing. Roxy discards up to 2 Pokemon from your hand and draws 3 for each one discarded. Weezing, and for that, coughing as well, to be fair, if discarded with Roxy, will drop 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's Pokemon. So you can still do all of this, but you've got to do it after playing the item card. If you need to ping and then hit, you cannot use this item card after the pinging. You can use it before the pinging, but then you end up in awkward situations. What if you've got the Galarian Zigzagoon in hand, but you've also got Professor's Research? You play it to drop the 10 damage, but then you play Professor's Research, and then you draw Team Meow's Fan Towel, but then you can't play it without undoing the little bit of pinging we've already done. My point is, a lot of the time, and I mean a lot of the time, you are going to be able to play this and the healing your opponent isn't going to matter. But sometimes the order in which you draw the card could be relevant. Of course, if you're just going for 2-hit KOs, this can be super awkward. Take something like my beloved Excadrill. My beloved Excadrill does 120 damage. You'll often play a martial arts dojo, you'll often play Vitality Man, at least I will. which means I'm hitting 140, which is a lovely 2-hit KO on an ADP, Mewtwo and Mew, etc. The problem is, I cannot play this item card without getting myself out of 2-hit KO range. And whether they're the best examples or not isn't relevant. The point is, it's an example of when playing this would lose me the 2-hit KO. And that would be a very bad thing. Of course, there are some times healing your opponent could be amazing. Take something like Reshiram and Charizard, for instance. Reshiram and Charizard does extra damage for each damage counter on it. It does 30 damage base plus 10 damage for each damage counter on. So what you might be doing here is getting a 2-hit KO but wanting to be just a little bit out of range. So if you want to hit Reshiram and Charizard for, let's say you're playing Mewtwo and Mew, and they've already got 40 damage on, and you want to hit them for 200. Well, if you hit them for 200, i.e. using your GX attack, you hit them for 200, but then they're on 240, which means that Outrage will do 270, which will get a 1-hit KO, which is a bad thing. But if you heal them first, you hit them for 200, they hit you back for 230, they're not getting a 1-hit KO. There will be times you can actually rob your opponent of damage doing this, and that's kind of awesome. So, it's a little bit of a weird card. Sometimes it's not going to matter, because you're just getting a 1-hit KO anyway. Sometimes it's fine, you can get a 2-hit KO regardless. Sometimes it'll stop you getting a 2-hit KO. Sometimes it will stop your opponent getting an Outrage KO. It's very strange. I mean, if your opponent, if their only real attacker is Spiritomb, you can actually play this to put Spiritomb down to 0 damage, heal yourself a little bit, and even if you can't attack to KO the Spiritomb, you can essentially neuter the Spiritomb, because if they've got 60 damage on, they're being KO'd. Unless they've got a Cape of Toughness, but honestly, if they've got 60 damage and a Cape of Toughness, you don't want this, you want a Tool Scrapper to get rid of the tool and get the KO. So what you can essentially do is remove all of their damage, and then instead of hitting for, say, 160, they're hitting for 40, because they use one building spot, they got 1 damage on, they only hit 40, and that can save you a turn. This is an item card which is going to give you some weird uses. But let's take a step back from the weird uses for a moment. Honestly, the number one reason to play this item card is in a deck like Zacian, like Mewtwo and Mew, like Center Scorch V Max, where you are expecting to be getting a 1-hit KO. I mean, Center Scorch V Max does 40 damage base, plus 40 more for each fire energy on it. So you're going to pile fire energy on and you are going to smash. And you're probably going to be playing Cape of Toughness, and you're probably going to be playing Heat Fire Energy to give yourself an extra 20 HP. So it doesn't really matter if you heal your opponent, you're probably getting a giant 1-hit KO anyway. So you might as well have a play with this, if you've got the room in your deck. Because if we take a look at the other item cards that can heal you, they're not terribly comparable. Obviously, Potion is still a thing. Potion is an item card that heals 30. This heals 50. Well, I shouldn't need to tell you that doing an extra 20 damage is good. Therefore, I shouldn't need to tell you that reducing damage by 20 or healing 20 damage is also good. It's not quite double Potion, but it's not a million miles away. Suspicious Food Tin will actually heal 80 damage, just so long as you discard a Psychic Energy from the Pokemon. Great in Psychic decks where you can spare the energy, not great in others. Great Potion will heal 50, but only from an active GX. So if you're playing Mewtwo and Mew, Great Potion is probably better. If you're playing Zacian or Center Scorch, no, it's not. Also, do please bear in mind that that is going to be rotating when the rotation hits in September 2021, and this isn't. And that's it. In terms of item cards that haven't rotated out, we've got exactly Potion, Suspicious Food Tin, and Great Potion. The one actually other we do have is Hyper Potion, but that is kind of like Hyper Suspicious Food Tin, really. You've got to discard 2 energy from one of your Pokemon, and then yay, you get to heal 120 damage, but you've got to discard 2 energy from the Pokemon, which you are just most of the time not going to want to do. This is better than the other options you've got if you don't mind healing your opponent's Pokemon. And as I've shown you, there are going to be a lot of times you just don't mind at all. There are going to be times playing this just ruins a KO for you, and that's sad. But there are also weird uses like stopping the outrage from Reshiram and Charizard, healing up a Spiritomb if you don't have the energy to attack, etc., which is going to make this an awful lot of fun. Let's go ahead and give this 4 Wassies. I do believe this is going to be a card that does see a fairly substantial amount of play. I think this could be a pretty good one. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comments section, would ya? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.